Following this spreading tendency to outlaw war, people will have their eyes open to the causes of war, which are in the sole promotion of group or national advantages. The practice of non-cooperation will also be outlawed as a contributing cause of war. This brings the whole thing right down to the individual, and each one must outlaw his own selfishness and self-seeking at the expense of others. He, as an individual, will find that the best way to promote his own interest is to promote the common interest, and the only way to perceive his own good is to preserve the good of the whole. This silent tendency is now being awakened on a broad scale, but each individual must find its beginning in himself, and one who will earnestly search his own soul will find the embryo of this movement increasing in his own nature every day. Spreading from individual to individual, it will grow into a mighty world movement and will be the ultimate motive in all human activities. Just as the individual who does not obey this eternal trend of his inner nature is destroyed, so will such groups, institutions, religious organizations, races, and nations be disintegrated, leaving the world for those who love the law of God and live that law in relationship to every other man and nation. In all modern movements, it is clearly revealed that the changes must be first in the individual, for unless his own nature is properly correlated with the movement back of outer conduct, he becomes a disintegrating factor in any movement that might otherwise accomplish untold good. One can scarcely do anything in the way of accomplishing universal peace until he has found peace within his own nature, and he cannot find peace in his own nature until he has been long enough truly in touch with the unseen forces which move toward the common good. There is no question but that the individual must first be at peace. Not only that, but he must realize what it means to the individual as well as to the nation. If he is centralized in that ideal of peace, he projects that influence, and he becomes one of the great moving factors of the spiritual development of the age. The peace movement is one of the most definite factors toward spiritual enlightenment as well. Politics will be broken down completely with this new system that is coming. But so long as the present political setup endures, no really effective program can be launched and carried to a successful conclusion. Everyone who keeps in step with the trend of the times is receiving all the help he is capable of receiving from these higher forces. Some of them receive this help consciously, some unconsciously, but nevertheless the help is there. Some have gone so far that they know and acknowledge this help. Political parties in the working out of the underneath movement of constructive forces will probably merge into one great party for greater simplicity of government. These changes must come through our party system, moving into single-chamber legislation and not divided. A house divided against itself shall fall. That will eradicate a great many of our political evils. This will all originate within the states due to changes brought about there. It is coming as a national movement in the United States. Peace is here. When we relate ourselves definitely to that principle, it makes us a working unit. Next chapter, the one mind. We have evidence of the control of the one mind. In every field of action we will note the one mind control. Even upon this boat you will note that there is one head. Consequently, there is one control, with many activities under that control, and all these lesser activities emanate from that centralized authority. It is only through this centralization of power and authority that there is anything like harmony in the operations of any organized section of society or even within the individual. We all know what happens when there is a division of power, or rather an attempt to divide authority without consideration of some central motivating source. The orders which go forth from two sources to the various centers of activity can result only in confusion and chaos. If power emanates from more than one central directive head, the authority is destroyed and the entire structure is broken down. Where there is one controlling element which has dominion, power, or control of motivating action, we are brought directly to that one element and thereby brought to one pointed action, which we have discussed before many times. It is through that action that we do accomplish, and that action brings us into harmony with that central control, in that we do not scatter our forces, but work with the one force, or power, which is complete control. You always bring yourself into accord with that to which you have delegated power. That is, if you believe in the power of the world and its environment, you are seemingly receiving directive control from 1,000 different sources, and this is the source of your confusion. You do not know whether to obey the seeming demands made here, there, or some other place, and this division in the consciousness breaks down the entire structure of man's nature. He must know whom we have believed and have become persuaded that he is able to keep that which we have committed unto him against that day. That one control does not exist for every human being if he will but use it. No, I said that wrong. That one control does exist for every human being if he will but use it. Of course, the use of that control must be conscious. It must be consciously directed or used for the purpose which we decree or which we establish. It is through the establishment of that control that our thoughts are brought into that one power of action or one thought of expression. There they cannot help but express that which they send forth. In other words, the motivating principle we determine must come into existence. His servants are ye, to whom you yield yourself servants to obey. And the manifest results must be determined by the outworking of that motivating force from which you receive your direction. The results can be no greater than is the power vested in the authority. This central control of the universe is often called principle, as well as mind. Principle does not bind it as closely, perhaps, as the one mind. Still, that principle controls and governs, and it knows what it is doing. It governs with intelligence, so it must be a mind principle. The Hindu have always put it as principle or the Almighty, which means that man does become that mighty controlling element. Man stands in his almightiness the moment he projects his thoughts to that one control, that one central directive authority. It is all so simple if one looks at the entire situation with an open-minded and sane approach to it. You say in your own mind that this person or that condition has power to make you sad. This is delegating authority to a definite location or form. Obeying the authority which you have thus assigned, you embody in yourself the mental and emotional state which you recognize as existing in the nature of that authority. You could not possibly think of embodying joy from a source that you decree has only the power to make you sad. Then, through your obedience to the authority you embody, the sadness which you have admitted it has power to manifest in you, and you say, I am sad. You become that which you embody. This is the whole secret. Power. But to manifest that mighty power that is ours, we must obey that source and embody the characteristics which it possesses.